Hey, sports fans, PB&Z Sports Chaos. We're getting ready for a mock draft. That's why I'm locked away here in the office. I'm doing my research right now for our mock draft preview show next Wednesday night. Right, PB?
Yep, night before the draft. It'll be a good one.
Here we go. So we're now T-minus 6 days to the big day. We got a couple of storylines we want to talk about. It's the NBA playoffs as well. We're going to talk about the rousing start. But first of all, hockey guy, I got some tough news to talk about because it was a very tough week for two of the greatest goal scorers ever in the game. Mike Bossy passed away last week at 65 on Saturday, I believe it was. And just today, we got the news. Guy Lafleur from the Montreal Canadiens, 70 years old, RIP, passed away. Sorry to hear that for two great goal scorers. By the way, Mike Bossy, one of only 3 players, if I'm not mistaken, PB, to score 50 goals or more in 9 seasons. Ovi, another one, and I believe Gretzky's the third one.
Oh,
unbelievable.
Impressive.
Hey, speaking of playoffs, let's talk about the NBA playoff. The first round so far has been pretty epic. Do you agree?
Yeah, it's been interesting. And there's a couple teams that you thought could come away with sweeps, and they actually split at home. That was pretty surprising.
And then, of course, you have a team that we both thought was going to get beat by the other team that was lower rated, and it ain't happening, I don't think. Up in Canada, that's not going to happen. So, PB, give me your first storyline for you in these playoffs.
My first storyline view is this. I think that I find this kind of interesting. You got every single team that's been the higher seed that's had to go play its third game on the road, right? Their first road game, game 3 of the series. They've all won. The Sixers, the Grizzlies, the Mavs, and the Warriors all took game 3 on the road. And a lot of those teams, if not, well, I think the Sixers were the only one that actually were up 2-0. All the other ones split at home.
No,
the Warriors did. The Warriors were 2-0 too.
Yeah.
But the other two were split at home. So that game, going on the road for game 3 after splitting at home, that's kind of a pretty big game. And now you have 3 more teams trying to accomplish that feat tonight. Miami, Milwaukee, and Phoenix are also going to play their first game on the road in their series. And only Miami is up 2-0 in their series. So I find that kind of interesting that many of the higher seeds were splitting at home, but they all were resilient enough to go on the road and win that game 3. And I think we're going to see more of the same tonight. I think Milwaukee, Phoenix, and Miami all get it done on the road.
Well, PB, interesting you say that because for me, my number one storyline is injuries. And Milwaukee had a critical injury the other night. Chris Middleton is out for 2 weeks. Tough injury for him. And the Phoenix Suns lost Devin Booker for maybe 2 or 3 weeks. Yep. So he is not playing in either one of these games. So the injuries, and going back to what you said about Philadelphia being up 3-0, we didn't expect that. You and I both thought Toronto would win that. But Toronto lost Scotty Barnes in the first game, and they lost the other kid there, Gary Trent, as well. So injuries have been a critical factor in the series, in all the series so far, but these are the ones right now. And I got to wonder, of the injuries that happened between Milwaukee with Middleton and with Phoenix and Devin Booker, if you were to pick one of those two, or even 2, I don't know, which one do you think is going to have the bigger long-term effect?
Yeah, it's interesting you say that because that was my number 2 thing was with the Booker injury, but it was more or less, does this legitimately give the Pelicans a shot as an 8 seed to upset the Suns now as a 1 seed? They're tied 1-1 as it stands right now, so they did what they had to do in Phoenix. The series goes back to New Orleans tonight. So do you think there's a shot there? That's really the question. I think the Pelicans overtaking the Suns minus Booker might be a little bit more of a stretch than the Bulls Bucks, but
I'm with you on that. I'm with you 100% on that. I think if it was Chris Paul, the point guard, maybe a different story. I think, and they didn't really have a great season without Devin Booker. They were only 8-6 in the games he wasn't there. But against the Pelicans, you are right. By the way, another injury that kind of maybe play the other way out. Zion may come back and play for the Pelicans. Who knows? But to your point, I'm with you. I think the other one, what do you think about the Milwaukee one?
And again, I think there's a shot there, but it's probably a little bit of a better shot than the Pelicans have beaten the Suns
I'm with you.
for the Bulls to take advantage of this. And they're both out for the series they're in right now, right? So there's no coming back. They got to figure out how to win without them.
And speaking of the other injuries you have going in was Ben Simmons. Will he play for the Nets? He's going to play in Game 4. But just a moment ago on the NBA show on ESPN, Robert Williams is coming back in Game 3 for the Celtics. I mean, that's amazing. Only 3 weeks after a meniscus. I know it was a minor tear, but that's still amazing. Do you agree?
Yeah. And that was actually my. I mean, we're kind of segueing into each other's number 2 and number 3 here. But I had that with Ben Simmons coming back in Game 4. Will that help the Nets? And do the Nets still have a shot down 2-0 to win that series against the Celtics? And that's a big question. I think they certainly have a better chance of doing that to the Celtics than the other team down 2-0, which is the Hawks. I don't think the Hawks have a chance against the Heat. But I think Brooklyn could, if they can win both games at home, it's a brand new series.
Agree. I mean, it's a good, I think it'll go 6. I don't think it goes 7. If Robert Williams can really play, we're going to see. He's only going to play about 5 to 10 minutes in Saturday, Game 3. But if he can really play going forward in Game 4, 5, and 6, then I think that team is a difference maker. By the way, I got to ask you a question because we like to pick on Kyrie here on the PBZ Sports Chaos Show. Kyrie flipping off the crowd. $50,000 fine, I don't think is enough. He should have been suspended. What do you think?
Yeah, he's a tool. I mean, I was reading even posts on Facebook of some of my friends from Boston that were at that game, and they're posting Kyrie socks, and you know what I mean. It's just like everyone hates him. Everyone can't stand the guy, and deservedly so. He's kind of a punk.
Let me ask you a question. Speaking of New York, do you remember another guy that the Boston faithful in Fenway Park tore apart in 1986 with the chance of Daryl?
Oh,
Daryl. I bet Strawberry would say that was worse than what Kyrie got at the Garden. You agree?
yeah.
I mean, that was epic. Daryl, man. Oh, wow. All right. Hey, for me, the last big thing I think in these playoffs is the young players. I mean, when you look at some of the young players, they were not like huge stars. I mean, John Morant is doing his thing, right? Obviously, he's only in his second year. But you got other guys like Jordan Poole from Golden State, who's keeping Steph Curry on the bench, making Steph Curry the 6th man of the year, apparently. You've got the kid out in Minnesota, Anthony Edwards. We touched on him a little bit last week, but he's playing phenomenal. I mean, some of these guys, Jalen Brunson from the Mavs, taking the place of Luka.
Yeah. And the kid
Maxey from Philadelphia.
Yeah, the kid from Memphis, out of Gonzaga there. Can't think of his name right now. He's only in his first couple years, right?
He's on a Memphis. I know you're talking about. I'm trying to think. He's not in Memphis, but yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
How about kid for the Pelicans, Trey Murphy? I mean, no one ever heard of him. He's been playing out of his brains, right? Even our own Celtic, Grant Williams. He was, get this, Grant Williams was 6 for 6 the other night. 3 from 3 for 3, 3 from 3 from 2s, and he went 2 for 2 from the free throw line. They ended up coming back in that epic win, right? So, some of the young guys in this league have really shown up the playoffs when in the years past, guys that came out too early, you're like, you should have stayed in college another year, right?
Yeah. And the playoff games so far have been great. I mean, there's been some big deficits. And Celtics came back down 17, right? Last night, I don't know if you had a chance to catch that Memphis Wolves game, but they were down 26 points at one point, and they came back. I mean,
they were down 26, PB, and then they were down 23.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that's an epic comeback. So,
right. Yeah, you're right. They cut that from 26 down to like 7, I think. And then it went from 7 back up to 23, and they still came back and won. That was insane.
Yeah, so, all right. More to come. All right. So we'll talk more NBA, but let's talk about